I'm making a chocolate truffle cake. Okay, I've already made my cakes. I've made my cakes and I've got them ready. And chocolate truffle is basically a ganache cake, so I've made my ganache as well. And the ratio of chocolate to cream that I've used for the ganache is 1:1. 1 part cream and 1 part chocolate is what I've used. So this is how the ganache looks. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting some little bit of ganache on the cake board so that the cake sticks to the base and it doesn't move when I'm working on it. I'm going to take my first layer of cake and place it on the cake board. And now I'm going to put the sugar syrup on the cake like I'd explained the last time. This basically helps to keep the cake moist and soft. Even if you keep it in the fridge, it doesn't go hard. And this is just a mixture of water and sugar. Now there are a lot of people who just spray water and leave the sugar part because the cake already has sugar in it and the icing that you put on top also has sugar. So if you want to avoid that extra bit of sweetness, you can just spray the cake with plain water. But make sure the water is at room temperature and it's not hot water. Okay. So now I'm going to take the ganache. I'm going to start applying it on the cake. I prefer doing it bit by bit. Like there are a lot of people who just put a lot of dollops of ganache on the cake or any of their icing and then they start spreading it around. But I just prefer doing it this way, so that I know exactly the leveling of ganache that I'm putting on the cake or the icing for that matter. I'm not going to put a very thick layer of ganache because ganache is very heavy and it's also a little sweet because it's made with dark chocolate. So if you can see, I've put like a thin layer of ganache. And then on top of this, I'm going to put the second layer of cake. Just press it down a little. I'm going to apply the sugar syrup on top. You can use a spray bottle also to do this. So I'm going to start with applying the ganache on the sides of the cake first and then I'll come to the top. Just try and apply an even layer of the ganache. And don't worry if it doesn't look neat at this moment, because we are going to smoothen it out. Make sure you run your palette knife right to the bottom of the cake. This side needs a little bit of more finishing. Now this is where the bench scraper actually comes handy. This is the tool that I had shown you guys the last time as well. It saves you a lot of effort when you're looking at sharp edges on your cake. Let's take a look at it. It's still not neat enough because you see the bottom over here, it still needs a little bit of more ganache. So let's just apply it. And again, let's use this to smoothen it out. There are some gaps over here which we need to fill up. Don't worry about the messy cake board, we'll clean it up once we've finished icing the cake. So that's more or less done. Let's just take a look. Now I'm going to put ganache on top of the cake. Again, on the top as well, I'm going to apply a very thin layer of ganache, because there's going to be a lot of decoration that's going to go on top of this cake. So I don't want the cake to be too heavy and too sweet. just smoothen the top. And again, let's just run the pen scraper once more on the sides so that we have these sharp edges of the cake. Now the ganache seems to be a little less over here. I can see my cake, which means it needs a little more icing. So I'm just going to apply that. That's done. Now let's finish the top. All you need to do is hold your palette knife and just drag it in. I'm just smoothing the top a little more. Now if you have minimalistic decoration on your cake, like there's nothing that you're going to put on the borders or on the side, it's just going to be a simple cake, then you will have to finish this cake a little more and just get those super sharp edges. But in case you intend to do what I'm going to do, which is basically cover the cake, the top of the cake with some decoration, then this kind of a finishing is good enough. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, I have this thing which is called a cake comb. Okay. I'm just going to run it on the side to get a design. If you don't have this, you can use a fork or you can use your hair comb, but make sure it's a brand new hair comb and you washed it nicely with soap water. I'm just thinking whether to make it. Okay, we will use this side. Okay, just hold it close to your cake and you can see almost these triangles are getting into the icing, and then slowly just run it on the cake like that. Okay. So I filled the piping bag with ganache, and what I'm going to do over here is basically called a basket weave design. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll hold the piping bag. Okay, this is where you apply the pressure, and this hand is basically for the support. Okay, so we'll start from here. Now as you can see, the nozzle is not touching the cake. Okay, I've kept it a little high, so I just want the ganache to flow out of the piping bag, and just pay attention to the movement of the icing bag in my hand. Okay, once you reach the end of the cake, just drop it and take it away. Okay, so that was one vertical line. Now we are going to do the horizontal lines. Okay, so again, using the same technique, but these will be much shorter lines so that we can get like the perfect basket weave design. That's how it looks. Now the next line will be parallel to these horizontal lines. Okay, so you'll slowly be able to see the basket pattern happening here. That's how it's going to look. Then straight line. One last line over here for the finishing of it. So that's how it looks, the basket weave. Now, in order to finish the cake, I just want to pipe some small dots around. Okay, so I need another icing bag and a different nozzle. Okay. I could perhaps use this nozzle. I'll just squeeze out the ganache from this piping bag to this one. Okay. If you feel that your ganache has gotten a bit too thin and you're not getting the shapes right, then just pop it in the fridge for 5 minutes and take it out. Okay, let's see if this ganache, the consistency of this ganache is good enough for me to pipe the dots. Otherwise, I'll keep it in the fridge for some time and then do it a little later maybe. I'm just going to pipe tiny dots around the cake. So the trick is basically that these borders help you cover up for any uneven sides of the cake that you have and gives a nice look to the cake as well. I hope I have enough ganache to just about finish the bordering of the cake. Looks like I'm getting close to the finishing line and this ganache is going to hold up. Okay, that's done. I still feel it doesn't look that great, so I'm going to try and add some sugar balls to it. So I'm just going to randomly place these balls. These are just sugar balls which you can get in any confectioner's shop or wherever you get cake baking materials. I'm just using some pink and yellow sugar balls. I think that's done. That's how it looks, the cake.